hope you're having a very good day. Welcome back to the den. I've got another game for you, also Lumiose Draft League, as you can see on your screen, hopefully. I did a little bit of dodgy editing last week, I hope it will be better this week. I did not miss last week's game. Basically because of Thanksgiving over in the States, this week got extended, so that this game would have been played last Friday? Or Thursday, I don't remember. It's getting played today instead, which is the Tuesday. Now this game is a scary one. One of the main flaws with my roster is that I have not got a particularly strong physical wall. I've got physical bulk, sure. Torn helps with it, Melon's obviously fantastic on the physical side. Pylo's good, Rotom Fan is decent, Alt is decent. But that is a Blaziken, and Blaziken is a scary one. Now Blaziken does have a complex ban in this league. It is allowed Speed Boost, it is not allowed Sword Stance. Much like Darkrai is not allowed to run Master Flood. Still, it is terrifying. I have no true check for Blaziken. And how we deal with Blaziken, and even more so Mega Beedrill, because Mega Beedrill is even worse, that's going to define how this week goes. And so let's just get into the team I brought. And while we're at it, I'm going to say that I'm going to start a little thing. I'm going to go with a few nickname themes. If you think you can see the themes in my nicknames, then, I don't know, you win a high five, a virtual high five. I promise you'll get it. You might not. But anyway, this week we have gone for a very interesting team. I can't tell if I've gone offensive or defensive with it all. Karate Joe is the first one. I think he's absolutely essential because of the B, basically. The B, if it really wants to, every time it comes in it can get a kill. I'm expecting a B lead, and yeah, that's why I'm leading Karate Joe. Infinite Bleed is often scarfed. So yeah, that is hopefully going to chase the Beedrill out. As I do that, I'm going to set up Stealth Rock. Now, on the hazard note, as you'll see here, they're defoggers. There's a lot of them, but they're not that good. Dundee, Beedrill and Blaziken are kind of non-defoggers. Beedrill and Blaziken certainly are. Dundee kind of is. I'm not expecting Whimsicott either, because it doesn't match up well against my Rockers. And though it could come, it's just not very good. It's got a couple of uses, but it's just not very good. So if they don't bring Defog Mew, there's no removal. Similarly, if they don't bring Hazards Mew, there's no hazards, other than of course T-Spike's Beedrill, which they could bring. But I don't think T-Spikes are that good against me because I have a Altaria, which, you know, pre-Mega is off the ground. I've got Torn, I've got Mel, I've got, you know, quite a few good boots users. It would be a bit weird to take up a move slot, and I don't think they'll do that. So yeah, I'm going to have a quick look at the notes that a pal of mine did for me, because he did a mock for me with this team. He brought this. What did he bring? He brought Knockoff Draw on Poison Jab U-Turn. That sounds about right. Knockoff Draw on Poison Jab U-Turn. And that is impossible for me to switch into. Genuinely impossible. So what is the plan? The plan is to fuck around and find out. Torn is pretty physically defensive. The goal of Torn is going to be to try and switch in and take hits, allow me to pivot around B a bit. But the main way I'm going to limit B is Stealth Rock and Scarf Ape, chasing it out. I know MCDI cannot do much, that's Darkrai, cannot do much while B is around, and that's why Calm Mind might seem a bit strange. But Calm Mind will let me beat through Celesteela, which I think is quite significant, unless they do what my mate did, and run a pretty sped-up Assault Vest Celesteela with Mega Horn. If they do bring that in the real game, do you know what, fair enough. Fair enough. But, you know, I'm not expecting that. My opponent also bought Thundy instead of Kyurem. I was expecting Kyurem. I've got AV Captain Turk here for Kyurem. I can deal with Sub and whatnot, because Drain Punch will break Sub. I can deal with DD, not great, but I can revenge it after only one dance. DD also struggles with Kyurem. Not Kyurem, what am I talking about? Melmetal. And yeah, that's mainly Slowking's job, AV Slowking. It can take a... It avoids the 2-hit cure from unboosted Thundy, so it can trade a couple of hits of it. Curum isn't there, which is what it did in this game. But yeah. Glumbo, which my opponent brought in that practice game, was kind of annoying. It was only annoying because he managed to burn my Melmetal on the switch. I thought I was trying to bait out a Hex. Oh, sorry, it would have been a Nightshade, because then I can sub on him. But it didn't happen, he managed to burn me on the switch. If Melmetal is not burned on the switch and gets behind a sub, it is impossible for them to deal with without Quagsire. And I have Toxic for that very reason. I am a little bit apprehensive about Mel, but oh well, it is what it is. My check to Blaziken. Now, Blaziken, I am expecting, in terms of its moveset, Dual Stab, because it absolutely needs Fire or Fighting Stab for Mel. Fighting Stab is generally better. In fact, it doesn't need to run Fire Stab, I guess. I mean, it really wants it for Rotom Fan, but it needs to run that for Mel, it needs to run Knock, and it needs to run something for Altaria, because Altaria is the most obvious check. And so I'd run Poison Jab or Iron Hit. My check is going to be non-Mega Altaria. I'm going to use pre-Mega Ult to check it, and then with Cotton Guard, if they don't get a Poison Jab Poison, which I can get with Magic Accuracy, but if they don't get that poison, I can Cotton Guard on it, and then I can start to set up. And then Bossa Nova can actually sweep. I need 2 dances to get through Beedrill, but with a Cotton Guard I can tank it quite well. I don't know if I outspeed Beedrill +1 if they're Adamant. My opponent brought Adamant this week. I don't know if I outspeed that. I don't think I do. I can check though. But yeah, no, Ult with just Fairy coverage hits everything so hard. Their only real check is Stealer, because Beedrill is just a non-resist. Mew is quite annoying, but what I did in the last game was I set up a Dragon Dance on Mew, while non-Mega, Scout of the Willow, just switched out after that. It's pretty safe. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one. I know I've been giving a few rambling thoughts, but I don't know what else there is to say. Heatwave on Torn is because I just have a feeling it'll be nice for Stealer. It'll be nice to have a more accurate option for stuff like Whimsicott and Beedrill. And I didn't really fancy Thick Knock. I'm not sure why. I really kind of now feel like I should have something more for Mew. I mean, I can Toxic it, I can Dragon Tail it if it's getting too many boosts. Slowbro actually sits quite well in the way of Demon Mew. But if it's a last Mon Demon, like Cosmic Power Mew with Rest, I just can't lose to that if it gets to last Mon. So, yeah. That's bad. Because it could come. It could come, especially with Coldon. Take one from Darkrai. But it is what it is. I've considered a few things like Taunt Darkrai, I've considered things like Trick. You need something for Demon Mew. If you don't bring something for Demon Mew, you're being a fool. Because if you don't think it can touch you, it will absolutely bully you. Yeah. What else is there to mention? I don't know. Oh, with Kyurem. I want to see Specs Kyurem, weird as it is. Even though you may be like, you have no switch in the Specs Kyurem. Basically, Slowking takes about 40% from the Specs Freeze Dry, similar to a Specs Draco. From there, I've obviously scouted it. I can then go into Melmetal, and I take very little thanks to my huge Spinef investment, and I regen most of it off. If they Ice Beam, I obviously take 0. I get to go for a free Scald of Dragon Tail if I've got Rocks up, or if I can just Scald something. They have no great Scald switch, which is something really nice for me. And yeah, that's what Captain Tuck's going to do. Now, if they Scald and they are not Specs or Life Orb, if they're Life Orb, I stay in and Drain Punch. Because between Life Orb recoil and Drain Punch damage and the recovery, I will beat it 1v1. Or at least I'll put it in very low range. If it's Boots and like Sub, I just have to stay in and keep clicking Drain Punch. It absolutely sucks, but that's, yeah. If it's Dragon Dance, I think I just have to go straight Melmetal on the dance, which again isn't good. But a +1 Outrage, I haven't even bothered calculating it, but I know it'll just bully Captain Tuck. So yeah, that's not ideal. Oh dear, what haven't I covered? What haven't I covered? I'm worried. The main thing's the bee. I hate the bee. The bee sucks. With X-Scissor Poison Jab, draw run SD, that runs through me. I'm terrified of SD. I don't know why I do with SD. Well, I can't beat SD. I scarf the ape. But it's rough. I also tempted not even to bring boots on Torn. That's the thing. I'm tempted to not even bring boots on Torn because of how weak their rocking is. But that said, if rocks do go up, thanks to the Mew, which almost certainly will be if the rocks go up, then I just really don't want to get absolutely battered by the bee, because Torn can switch into bee U-turns all day, and even switch into bee knocks quite well. But with rocks up, it would be really bad. I mean, knock will do that anyway. But yeah, the speed. I don't remember what I crept. I think I crept Thundy. I think I've disrespected Whimsicott in this because I'm not creeping Whimsicott in a go Darkrai because I feel like Whimsicott runs slow against my team. Like, it doesn't outspeed shit, so it's gonna run slow. It's gonna run bulky. I'm just relying on Prankster to deal with Torn, so I've just not respected it with this at all. Oh dear. Right. I'm gonna stop talking. I've talked for way too long. I'm gonna put a timestamp in for the game, but I will see you at the game. Hopefully we pull out another dub, but this is gonna be a bit of a nervy one. Catch you in a bit. Hello, we are back. You may have noticed. Well, there's no way you could have noticed. You may have noticed Power Gem on Slowking here. We're about to go into the battle. I just wanted to let you know I've gone Power Gem with a Drain Punch because I got some advice, basically saying that Power Gem just makes more sense, and I've realised that it does. I've honestly forgot Slowking got Power Gem, but yeah, hopefully my opponent will send me the challenge in a moment. Otherwise, the team is unchanged, which is good, I think. I was quite happy with it. I spoke to a couple of people since the recording of the initial thing, of the talking about the team, which I did yesterday, and they've told me that this is the way to go. So that little thing in the middle, I'll actually come back to you with the battle now. See you in a sec. Hello, you may be wondering, wait a minute, this is a battle? This is a replay. Yeah, the reason that is the battle took over an hour. It took me absolutely forever, and so I figured it might be a bit more palatable if we go over it in replay form. And I'll just say my thoughts as we sort of go, nice and slow. But yeah, I'll leave with Infinite. That's what I've done in all the practice I knew I was going to, because I thought they'd leave Beedrill, which I was right about. And something I also thought is Beedrill naturally is going to fear Scarfape. Infinite Bleeding is going to mean Scarfape. They don't want to lose Beedrill turn 1. So they're going to hard switch Beedrill out, meaning I can get up 3 rocks. Which is exactly what happened. And yeah, I get my 3 rocks. Quagsire, I don't know what's going to click. It can click either its dual stabs or Toxic, and so I just kind of thought I'd go into Altaria. But they actually double out Celesteela, which is a nice bit of positioning to be fair. Steela becomes a bit of a nightmare. I didn't really have a great switch. I have Slowking and Torn. Slowking I went into. I saw the leftovers, so I didn't think they were offensive. So yeah, then they put the sub up. The sub was not fun to deal with. I'm going to leave it on normal for a bit. You're going to see what I mean. But basically this Steela was just designed to sort of stay alive and be annoying. Now, it couldn't do that much to me because I do have 2 regen mons that can both break its sub without too much hassle. But yeah, this thing really irritates me, to be quite honest. My main plan was genuinely just a PP stall up. They'd run out of something eventually, was my thinking. I suppose that protect, and I'm like, wait, it's got no flamethrower, it's got nothing for Melmetal. So if a Melmetal can get a sub on this thing, then happy days. And from the heat wave damage, I saw that it is Fizdef, not Spadef. Which was good information to have. So yeah, I just sort of kept doing my thing. On this turn, I was sort of thinking about PP a little bit. I scalded, I checked the Skull calc. It does Skull plus Psyshock would always kill a Fizdef Steela. So I was like, I'm going to Psyshock, I'm going to save PP. Why not? And it wasn't this turn, I lied to you. I must have been flinched, yeah. Yeah, it was this turn after. My bad. I was literally just doing it to save PP, and then I went out into Cure, which was great because I saw it got affected by rocks, so it was probably choice, and I got hit with a big side shot, which was fantastic. And they got stabbed by Leech Seed. Now at this point, I was doing a little bit of calculating, and I was like, well, no boots means probably choice, right? Because not seen leftovers either. And I kind of thought Scarf or Specs. Specs, Freeze Dry plus Leech Seed from here would kill. But unless they've been calculating the air slashes, which they could have been, they wouldn't know I'm Assault Vest, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. They would assume I'd switch. But the truth is, Captain Tuck was only around for this thing, so I didn't mind trading Captain Tuck for it. And with Rocks up, I really didn't need to worry too much. If there was Scarf, I could take the Freeze Dry, no problem, and switch out to Mel or something. So I did something weird, and I stayed in, hoping to sort of catch them out. And that I did. They hit me with an Earth Power, they do fuck all. They reveal their Specs. That is Specs Earth Power. And I hit with a Power Gem, which only does a little more than Side Shock, but it's there for a bit of coverage for Thundy as well. And it's generally better than Drain Punch. But yeah, hit me with a Power Gem. At this point, I'm like, okay, it's Earth Power, I can switch into Taunt or Alt completely for free. I think I went with Taunt, because I don't want to fuck about too much. And they go into the Stealer. And so we're back to here. This is going to happen a few times. Because neither of us really immediately terrify the other. My main thought, I say, with the Stealer was just to stall it down. But then there's going to the Thunderous. And again, we see the boots. I did not know what this thing was going to be. I had no idea. I assumed just some kind of attacker, obviously. It could honestly even have defog. But yeah, I hit him with a U-turn, do a little bit of damage. And I'm thinking of the switch-ins, because I genuinely consider staying in and keep waving. Because I did live a Volt Switch, and I figured they might just try and Volt Switch. Because it's a free Volt Switch, I mean, I've got no resist at this point in the game. After I made the Volt I do, but yeah. But I figured Alt probably avoids the 2-hit KO from Thunderbolt. I could get 2-hit KO'd, but it's a very good chance to avoid the 2-hit KO. At which point I can come in it and it's sort of okay. And so I go for the U-turn to the Alt area. And then they click the Agility. This was a bit of a problem as well, because I figured they'd be Agility, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Sludge Wave. Because in my opinion, Thunderbolt and Sludge Wave is not adequate for Melmetal. They've got to have something for Alt in there. It's going to be Sludge Wave, yada yada. I was thinking, okay, Bossa Nova is my check to Blaziken. I really want Bossa Nova healthy for Blaziken. The problem comes if I stay in, take a ton of damage from the Sludge Wave. So I could go Mel. Mel will live a Focus Blast, but then Mel is low for trying to do a Quagsire. You get me? And Mel is just fantastic against everything else. So yeah, I did want to go into Mel and take the Sludge Wave, but I also thought, yeah, maybe they're thinking of non-mega stuff. You know? They could have been. So it was a bit tricky. But eventually I did decide to stay in Mega and return. I was super close to going into Mel though. And I wish I had, because they just stayed in and they went for the Sludge Wave. Did an absolute ton of damage and I killed them in return. I saw on their paste after the game, and I had no idea at the time, they did not have Focus Blast. They had T-Bolt, Sludge Wave, Nasty Plot, along with Agility. So Mel was the right play there. I had no real way of knowing it. Had I not Mega'd, I would have taken about half that from Sludge Wave, and return would have 2KO'd, I think. But it was just risky, man. It was just risky. So I didn't want to go for it. But yeah, Thunderous is down, which is a huge threat, because you may have noticed I don't really have a real resistor at all. They could have brought Specs, and it would have been terrific. Come to think of it, if they brought T-Bolt Sludge Wave, and that would have just also lost to Pilot one, but oh well. Down goes Thunderous. And at this point I'm expecting the B. B or Blaziken. If it's Poison Jab Blaziken, it can come in. Kyurem can come in, but it has to take Rock, so it doesn't really want to. Stealer lets me Roost, so I don't think it comes in. And Quag, again, lets me Roost. So I expected the B to come in, and it did. And the thing here, Beedrill is a nightmare for my team. And I was thinking about possible plays, because the Poison Jab is kind of obvious. I had a calc around. Drill Run would not kill. Poison Jab is the only thing that kills Bossa Nova from here. And I was very sort of worried about the fact that, well, you know, I need Bossa Nova for the Blaziken. Even if it's bulk up Poison Jab, it slows it down a bit. It helps me pivot around it. Bulk up Poison Jab, though, if they brought that, I think I would have just lost. So, good thing they didn't. Spoilers. But yeah, I was thinking about bulk up Poison Jab, and yeah, and I was thinking about this Beedrill, I was thinking they're probably really expecting a switch to Mel. Because they don't know what the Mel is at this point. They might think it's physically defensive Rocky Helmet, right? They might think it's there to check Beedrill, and I know that they know I need a Saltaria. And so I thought they might click Knock, I thought they might click Drill Run or something like that, which is why I kept ult in. And they do Mega Evolve and go for the U-turn, which was fantastic. It was brilliant for me, because I get more guaranteed rocks damage, and more importantly, I get to heal up Bossa Nova, which is really good. And they go into the Stealer. And here is where I'm going to go on to fast, because basically this takes a while. I was like, well, this thing can't really touch me. It got Leech Seed me, sure, but it can't do much to me, so I can set up a few Dragon Dances. This goes on for a while. This is where I wish I'd had some other move to hit the Stealer, because... Oh, what's going on? I thought I was lagging a bit there. Someone asked me, who was watching this game, why didn't you just keep going +6? The reason was I was running out of roosts. This thing PP stalled me quite well, and yeah. The problem was I kept thinking I could get through it, but I just, after a certain point, I realised I couldn't. That certain point doesn't happen for a while though, so I'm gonna subject you to watching this through. But during this, I was thinking about ways of beating the Stealer. I knew that Infinite Flare Blitz would not do enough to kill it. In like, you know, do a sufficient amount of damage. I think it did about 59 min. Darkrai's Thunderbolt does about that as well, but Darkrai isn't weak to Air Slash, which is really good, so Darkrai seemed like a decent way of trying to do it. It was a bit tricky. And as you can see there, from the +4 return I did 42%. So, even if I had more roosts, a +6 return, I believe, does about 52 at max roll. So, even if I was just hitting max rolls, between Sub and Protect and Leech Seed, they would have stalled me out. I think I wasn't winning this really no matter what, as I genuinely had infinite roosts. So eventually I switched out to Darkrai on the Sub. Because I just kind of got tired of it. And I felt kind of bad. But one thing I had managed to do is I had managed to PP stall the Stealer quite a lot, which was really good, because the Stealer, like I said, was a huge threat. And PP stalling was one of the ways I was considering dealing with it. I got rid of half its subs, got rid of most of its Air Slashes. And so yeah, I went into Darkrai. And I was thinking about Calm Minding here, because I figured they'd Leech Seed. But I decided I wanted to T-Bolt, because if I T-Bolt, I bluff Specs, which would threaten to kill, and it would force a switch, and then I could Calm Mind. That was kind of my thinking. And so yeah, Specs wouldn't kill, I think it would just make it like terribly low. I think it would put it around like 80%. It would do 80%, so yeah. I'm going to switch out to Quagsire, hit the Calm Mind button, and yeah, I couldn't really set up on this, it's Quagsire, so I switched out again. This turn, I didn't know anything about this Quagsire. I had assumed beforehand it would be Fizz Def, because that is the main way they can deal with Ape. For any kind of Swords Dance nonsense, they can deal with Mel, is Fizz Def Quag. So yeah, I assumed this thing was Fizz Def. That said, I still couldn't break through it with Dark Pulse very easily. But I didn't want to Toxicking something like Mel. Sorry, not Toxicking Mel, Scalding Mel. I didn't want to get that for free. Oh wait, no I did. I figured they clicked Toxic, my bad. I figured Toxic was a likely click from them. I am misremembering this. But Toxic was not what they clicked, they went for Yawn. Which was interesting for me, because I was thinking, hang on, if they got Yawn, they're going to have Toxic. I didn't know about that, and I considered subbing on it because I knew a Scald wouldn't break my sub, but they could have Earthquake. So I went into Slowking, and they Scald Slowking, they do nothing. At this point I am pretty worried about what happens, because I clicked Scald a couple of times, then I unclicked it because I was sort of dissatisfied by it. I figured that Kyurem could come in. Because Kyurem had tried to switch into Slow King before. If it did switch in again, it would be 100% clicking Freeze Dry. Which I could exploit by honestly staying in. But yeah, I thought this thing might try and Toxic me as well. But I wanted to try and spread Chip by forcing in something like Kyurem or Beedrill, or even Steeler, honestly. So I went for the Dragon Tail. Steeler comes in, takes rocks, I Dragon Tail this, and yeah, I just wanted to force some more passive damage. And the one thing I didn't want coming in comes in. In comes Blaziken. And at this point I am bricking it. Because Knock Thunder Punch kills Captain Duck. I think Choice Band Poison Jab kills Captain Duck. I think anyway. Blaziken, Choice Band, and Poison Jab. Band Poison Jab. It would not kill Captain Duck, but they were adamant, so it would have done a lot. Flare Blitz and CC would have had good odds to kill Captain Duck. Basically, I do not want to say on anything this thing had to offer. However, I was getting my brain worrying, and I was thinking, okay, I've kind of got to sack something here, but what's the best case? Best case scenario is they're banded, because then they're choice locked. I figured if they're banded, they can't necessarily kill Slow King with Flare Blitz or CC, right? They can't necessarily do that. They cannot kill with Poison Jab. So I think they're clicking Knock, or Thunder Punch if they have it. And that was why I went for Bossa Nova. I also was kind of willing to sack Bossa Nova anyway, because there was nothing else I wanted to give up. If they went down to CC, I would have gone Torn. If they went down to Flare Blitz, I would have probably gone back into Tuck, and then probably Dragon Tailed again as they switched. If they went back into C, I would have been fucked. But yeah, I figured they would knock. And luckily for me, they did knock. I managed to read it right, 13%. From that, I realised they were adamant banned, which is wonderful. And of course, that means I get a free roost. I didn't care what they went into. I honestly didn't. I just wanted to roost up. And they went into Beedrill, so I actually could have killed this thing the rest of the time. But it is what it is. After the roost, which I did because I had to keep it healthy for Blaziken, I wanted to hopefully get this thing up healthy enough that it could take a Flare Blitz or a CC later. I could on a roll, I believe. Altaria. Yeah, I was at 70, what, 2? So, yeah, I had a pretty decent chance to take 2. So it was a good stopgap. If let me force it out, if it came on a revenge kill. But yeah, then Beedrill came in. And this is similar to what happened earlier, except this time I am healthier, and the game situation's a bit different. They're a bit further behind. I have no chip on Mel still, which is important to know. I have been ballsy with this Altaria, and this Altaria has been causing them problems. Like, more problems than I think they probably expected. They know I'm not going Tuck, because that doesn't make any sense. And they know I'm not going Infinite, because that doesn't make any sense, unless I really want to hard read a U-turn. Torn is an option, if again I want to hard read a U-turn. But if I'm hard reading a U-turn, I still want to go Mel. But the point is they are never clicking Drill Run. They are never clicking Drill Run. Because Drill Run would be worse than Knock, potentially. I don't know if it is. Against Mel, I mean. Drill Run at least does a decent amount of Bossa Nova. I don't know. I really didn't expect a Drill Run though. I figured they'd U-turn or jab, so I went into Donk Donk. And Mel went for the jab, which was fantastic. So I got Mel in for free on this. I've managed to nullify most of what this Beedrill was doing so far. And at this point it was free sub sound. Absolute free sub, did not care what came in. Free sub. And Quiet came in, which is what I expected. And then Mel did some Mel things. I'm going to put it to normal again. Because you're going to see some toxic fun times. Now this Quag did not have Earthquake. For some reason. It did not carry Earthquake, it carried Scald, which does not break sub, because I'm quite specially defensively invested. And Helmet, to try and burn me down. But I was honestly fine with that, like, it's not terrible. It's probably better than Leftovers, honestly. So I just keep subbing on it as they recover. There's not a lot they can do, honestly, because Toxic is just going to rack up. So I start toxicking into it. I would honestly rather just not hit it and just let Toxic wear it down, because it's doing so much. Thunder Punch here, because I figured that would be the most likely time for them to switch into something else. Potentially Stealer. I'm not sure why Stealer, because it couldn't really deal with me anyway, but... yeah, because if they took another round of Toxic, then I get another free sub. So yeah, I sub again there. Personally, I think on the Thunder Punch they could have gone Kyurem, but then again I would have killed it, so yeah. They were sacking the Kyurem to make sure they could get something in without a sub up on Mel's side, which, you know, they kind of had to do at this stage. Here, I got the leftovers back to sub again on Quag, which would be wonderful, potentially later on, and I'm thinking Blaziken's coming in. But Beedrill comes in, which I did not expect. Because if Blaziken comes in, it clicks Flare Blitz, it tests me a bit. Beedrill comes in, and all of a sudden they're making guesses again. Because if they want to click anything other than Drill Run, I live a knock. Right? So they are forcing themselves into a position where they're having to guess. The only move they can use to kill me is Drill Run. At this point, I feel like they're getting desperate, they need to pick up KOs, so I go into Taunt. Because I'm feeling, you know, good about what I've been doing so far in my reads. The Drill Run, Taunt takes nothing, obviously. And at this stage, I just want to go for a Heat Wave. I don't care what comes in. If Blaziken wants to come in, I will just stay in and Hurricane it. This thing is almost dead to rocks, so yeah. But they just sack it, they go for the Poison Jab, they manage to get the Poison, which is pretty decent, I guess. But I land the Heat Wave and kill it, forcing in the Blaziken. Blaziken, it was another sort of similar situation to before, except this time they didn't really have a reason to go for anything other than its stabs, other than Poison Jab. Now Poison Jab, I kind of was like, they could have the Poison Jab. I expect them to have Poison Jab because between stabs and knock, Ult stands out as a thing that Poison Jab can't touch. That said, I still would rather sack Ult than risk going into something with Mel, because if they want to lock themselves into Poison Jab, then Mel can come in, Mel can sub, and Mel can start messing with things again. So I really didn't mind it that much if they did go for the Poison Jab. But I was going to switch into Ult either way. And now, I want to show you a calc. That Flare Blitz did 38. So they got quite a high roll. I was on, I don't remember the exact number. Oh, can I remember the exact number? It was 34%. I think it was 117. So Flare Blitz had a 93.8% chance to kill from this range. You'll never guess what happened. Yeah. In the end, I don't think it mattered for anything other than differential. But it is unfortunate for them, differential-wise. I just started spamming my remaining roosts with Bossa Nova until they got the burn, and I realised, yeah, I need to hurry things along. So I just killed it. They kept clicking Flare Blitz, banded as they were, and I got the kill with Bossa Nova on Blaziken, which was obviously good. 2 months left. I knew they'd go Stealer because Quag I could just recover on, sorry, Roost on, and then go into something like Slowking, and I would win the 1v1. So Stealer they go into. I was half torn because I knew they knew they could just Roost. Not Roost. Leech Seed. Dear me. They could Leech Seed or they could sub. And I knew Air Slash would kill, but I have Roost, so yada yada yada. I was tempted to go Slowking, but I really wasn't feeling it, if I'm honest with you. I wanted to go Darkrai. I knew Darkrai could break this. I just hoped they'd Leech Seed, because that would mean I could save diff. But they went for the Air Slash, did 38. Check the calc. Celesteela. Air Slash. I was probably dead to the next one. From 38%. So there was a chance I was. But I went for the T-Bot anyway. 62%, did good damage. Air Slash again. They didn't Leech Seed or Protect or anything. At which point I went in Ape and I Scarf cleared up. This game, me recording my thoughts over it, mostly on slow speed, has taken me 22 minutes. As I say, it was an hour I'll go through. About a minute a turn, which is a bit crazy. But it was a game I wanted to get out on a recording because it was a game that I felt nervous about, basically going into. But it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Very well played to my opponent. I think I just got the better of the 50-50s, and that's all. But yeah, I wanted to get this out because it's been a little while since my last video. I will get League 4 out next week when the game happens, but until then, I hope you have a fantastic time, and I will see you then. Goodbye, have a good one. I'm good at outros.